This is not the kind of video that I ever wanted to make, but this is too important for me to be silent, so here it is. So it has come out over this last week that there is a ex-Disney artist named James Mulligan who, it turns out, has been using generative AI to make art for a variety of things, including official Disney products for, it appears, probably a year, maybe even more. And the thing is, we probably knew about this a lot longer than it has been reported. So at the beginning of this year, Disney, through Dynamite Comics, released a brand new series of comics about the film Zootopia, and James Mulligan did a cover variant through the website MB Artist, and that is what we have here. And as soon as they showed this off, the community instantly saw it and knew, whether we like to admit it or not, that this is an AI-generated cover. There's all kinds of tells here. I don't really want to go into too many details, but aside from just looking like Gen AI, which it does, let's not lie, there's all kinds of things here that really give it away. The white above Judy's eyebrow there, the nonsense writing on her badge, all kinds of stuff here. So this was first shown off back in January, which means that it had to have been made December or November of last year. Yeah, that was not fun. All year long, I've tried to give this the benefit of the doubt. James Mulligan has been an artist for Disney for years, longer than generative AI art has existed. So we were just giving him the benefit of the doubt and assuming maybe he had a bad day, maybe he's just changing his style. Whatever it was, we excused it, and we were wrong to do that. This is, in fact, an AI-generated cover. This past week, things came to a head when he attended Dragon Con and was selling a lot of his art there, and he was confronted by a few attendees who asked him point blank, do you use generative AI in your art? And he flat out said, absolutely not. And then when they asked for him to prove it, he threatened legal action against them for assuming that he does. But it turns out that he has, in fact, used generative AI for a lot of his art, and not just the one-off pieces that he sells at conventions. It turns out, yes, he's doing it for official pieces that are licensed by Disney, sold officially by comic vendors, and even worse, he has made at least 3 Lorcana cards that were made in whole or in part with generative AI. At this exact same con, just 1 or 2 booths over, there was a person who was selling exclusively AI-generated art, slop, and when the venue found out, they were told to leave because this person apparently had submitted their application using real artwork and then only sold generative AI artwork at Dragon Con. And when Dragon Con found out, they said, no, you can't do that, you have to leave. This person refused to leave until they were escorted out by the police. Again, this is just a few booths across from where James Mulligan was, so that should give you an idea of how serious this con was taking AI, and yet James Mulligan was allowed to stay there for the entire weekend, even under all this scrutiny. Things seem to have come to a head this week, according to boundingintocomics.com. Mulligan has been fired and blacklisted from Disney. He will not be allowed to make any art for them ever again, official, unofficial, anything. His website's portfolio has been completely wiped off the face of the internet, and yeah, I think it's safe to say that it's pretty much confirmed he has in fact been doing generative AI all this time. And I think the sad thing about all this is that he's an accomplished artist. He has been doing Disney art for longer than Gen AI has existed, as I said, so he can do this. And why he chose not to, why he chose instead to tell a computer with a prompt, spit out this art for me, I do not know. I'm not here to get into the controversy, into the debate about AI versus non-AI. The fact is, this cover of this official comic that you have to pay money to get was not made by the person who claimed to make it. This was made by a computer. And they're making profit off of it, and that just annoys me. A few years ago, DC Comics came out and said that there were a few covers that were made for their comics, one in particular of Superman that I'm showing here on screen, but also a few others besides that, that these were made with generative AI and that the artists who made them, who claimed ownership of them, had been fired and blacklisted. And now Disney is doing the exact same thing with James Mulligan, and I think that that's the way that it should be personally, that if you use generative AI and claim it as your own, you should not be allowed to make art ever again for that company. So where does that leave this? Where does that leave this cover that I bought? Well, I don't know. I do not know what I'm going to do with this. I've already bought it. I hate the thought of actually paying money to support Gen AI, but here it is. I bought it earlier this year, long before we knew for sure. I gave James Mulligan the benefit of the doubt that this was real, and I was wrong to do that. I think the real sad thing is that this is probably going to end up being I don't want to say common, but it's going to happen more often in the future, where more and more artists use Gen AI to create an image that they will claim as their own. And unfortunately, the more time goes by, the harder it'll be to spot the difference between that and real art. And I think that's about the most depressing thing about this whole fiasco. Again, not the video I wanted to make, but I just felt like I needed to speak up and talk about this. And I don't really have anything else to say, so video's just going to end right here. That's that. AI slop can suck it.